of NBL26 has been and gone and provided us with some huge storylines. JaVale McGee, Jack McVeigh, and none other than Bryce Cotton, who dropped 39 in his new hometown. This is NBL Now, brought to you by Code Sports, and I'm Kelsey Browne, joined by none other than a legend of the league, Cal Bruton, OAM, Coach of the Year, two-time All-First Teams, 2 chips, one as a coach, one as a player. Cal, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm very excited to talk to you. I want to get straight into it, though. Let's start with JaVale McGee. What did you make of his first game? He dropped 32 and 13. And was it what you expected of him coming into this league?
Well, thank you for having me, Kelsey. I'm very excited about the Hawks and JaVale McGee. As a matter of fact, I'm going to the game tomorrow, on Thursday, rather. But I saw something special in him. He's never been an offensive-minded player. He's always been, one of the guys that get the missed shots and put them back in. They don't go directly into them in the post. But I think he was looking for a bigger role, and he showcased that he can handle it. So he stepped in there with that big number and got the rebounds and blocked shots. And, I think his best is yet to come. He seemed like he was having a lot of fun.
He was having a lot of fun. I absolutely loved his energy. He seems like he's going to rile the crowds up wherever he goes. How do you think he has changed the championships team of last year, chances of going back-to-back? Do you think he's added to it, or do you think he's going to be a liability at times?
They lost a few players, obviously. Trey Kell, and they lost one of their main cogs in the wheel in him. But at the same time, JaVale McGee brings a different dimension, a different diversity, and seeing that they really missed Sam as well, but they got Harry sort of supporting that role. You see JaVale McGee having a huge opportunity to sort of make a difference. And I think Justin Tatum is just the man to bring it all out and put it all together, because he shows that he can bring the best out of his players. And I think JaVale McGee is going to create something special for the Hawks this year, simply because he's just got a love for the game. He definitely, wanted to get the crowd involved. He seemed very excited about being in the gong. He likes the beaches. So, he's good. I'm looking forward to watching him do even more things for the league. And obviously, it's given us a real big boost with the NBL and NBA having players come here to finish their careers up.
So you've been in the league for such a long time, Cal. What does it mean for a player like JaVale McGee, 3 championships in the NBA, to come over here? And what does that provide for the league?
Well, it provides a big, a big viewing audience. It puts a lot of eyeballs on the league. Everyone wants to know JaVale McGee's a 3-time NBA champion. What's he doing? And now he's bringing his talents to Australia. So I think that's huge for the league. I'm sure that he has basically amplified that by just bringing his profile. And now that we have the NBA playing here as well, and all the connections we got with my son's team knocking off an NBA team, and now they over here to redeem themselves. So I think it's a very exciting time for basketball. And I believe that personalities and big-time players like JaVale McGee, who brings championship status, is going to make a stamp on that.
For teams coming up against someone like McGee, you're a coach. I would love to hear your insights. What's the strategy? How do you stop someone like JaVale McGee, if that's even possible?
Well, he seems like a very unselfish player. He plays within the structure. And I'm surprised by the 30 points, 13 rebound output. I don't know whether he'll be producing that every single game, but at the same time, I believe it puts all the clubs on notice that they got a go-to guy down there that's 7 foot plus, and he's going to have to be dealt with. But with the shooters around him, particularly Tyler Harvey, he gets going. They got a nice balance, and they always do, but they're missing Dave O'Hickey, that kind of, when he comes into the mix, I can see the outlet pass from JaVale McGee going to Dave O'Hickey, and he's flying up the court. And to me, it reminds me a little bit of my run, stun, and have some fun days when I was coaching the Wildcats. That the Hawks can be very similar. They can go fly to the hoop at every single occasion. So now I'm excited. I just think it's going to be a handful for other teams to kind of come up with a plan to deal with JaVale McGee.
So the Hawks take on Perth on Thursday night. You just brought up the Wildcats. What have you made of Perth so far? They've had a little bit of a rocky start to the season, but came away with a good win on the weekend.
Yeah, I had a good look at them in the blitz. Obviously, they didn't have Mason there at the time. I love his initials. He's MJ, so people got to kind of understand that he's going to bring something to the table. But being an MVP of the G League is no joke, and I do feel that he's getting his feet wet. I would advise him to just be himself. Don't try to be anyone else. I saw the highlight films on him from winning the MVP and all, and winning the championship, and he looked good. But I don't think he should go out of his character. He seems like a scorer, and right now, Coach Riley's got to figure it out, whether it's Benny Henschel or Mason Cox. But Perth got weapons, with Doolittle and Windler. I think the depth is there. They got the big fella, George Hill. I think they got equipment. So I'm not putting the Wildcats any place but near the top. And I feel that once they find their feet and get adjusted with who they are, because it was a late start for them getting all their pieces together, I think they're going to be some people that have to deal with them on a real serious level because they got a lot of weapons.
There was a bit of discourse on the weekend about the move that John really made, bringing Jaren really on and benching Mason Jones. What did you think about that one? And what would be your message to Mason Jones when that happens? How can you start to deliver when the hype around you has been so big?
Well, I think you just, again, take your time, get your reps up. Like, he only arrived in the country, a week or two ago? So, it's kind of different atmosphere, different hoops from where he would be normally sort of looking at the competition in the States and here, the atmosphere. But I believe that, John did the right thing. He's trying to get wins. And his son came out, did the job. John, he's a player. Like, he didn't play last game either. I think he sat the bench and all that. So now he comes in, shows what he can do. He's a smart player, obviously. But Mason's going to be fine. With a name like initials like MJ, I'm not worried about him. He's going to find his feet, and when he does, he looks comfortable initially, but then all of a sudden he got a little tight when the shots didn't roll. But he has the enthusiasm, and I'm sure he's got the pedigree to bring exactly what Perth needs. So it's just a matter of him finding his feet at the right time.
All right, a bit of quick fire for that one. Who wins, Perth or the Hawks?
Well, I'm going to be at that game, so I'm going to be cheering for Perth, even though Illawarra is my group, because they next door to us in Canberra, right? So I hope Justin don't get upset with me, but, I'm going to be a guest of Mark Arenas at the game, so I'm kind of, I'm feeling like, I'm wearing a Perth Wildcats shirt. I can't be leaning on my Hawks, but I'm a fan of both teams, and I'm proud to go back and cheer for the Wildcats in this particular one.
Cal Bruton, part of the Red Army. We absolutely love that. Another man that has come in with a fair bit of pressure into NBL 26 is Jack McVeigh. He's had 2 huge games. He's silenced any of the doubters after that rough one in game 1. But he has $1 million price tag. There's a lot of pressure that comes with that. How does that compare to when you were in the league? And what would your advice be to Jack, who's got this money on his back? How do you shake any doubters after his first few games?
Well, I love Jack McVeigh. He's one of the special ones. I've seen him since he was a youngster coming through, and my family knows him really well. He's a gentleman first and foremost. He has good upbringing, with family and all that. So I got nothing but time for Jack McVeigh. As a player, well, I was making $400 a week when I came to Australia, and then when I came back with my family, I was making $1,200 a week for 5 people. So him getting $1 million, I'm not mad at him. I think this is a wonderful opportunity for him to set up and show what he's truly all about. And with that slow step, everyone calls it a Euro step. I'm going to call it the Jack McVeigh Australian step. The way he slow motions to the hole and holds himself up on one foot and then kisses it off the glass. I don't think anyone in the league is doing that. So Jack is creating his own pathway, his own legacy, and I believe he's going to do it really well. Watching him come from, Adelaide 36s to going to the NBA to actually coming back to, going to Tassie, then winning the championship and then going to the NBA, playing for Australia, now coming back to Cairns, which was a club that was sitting on a chopping block, really, with the way the program was looking. 40 was leaving and this and that. And all of a sudden, a bundle of cash comes in and they're ready to roll. So, I like what they put together. I think they got a really good team. And they're going to have to just play consistent throughout the season. And that last win will definitely give them some confidence against Brisbane. So I do feel that, Cairns is going to be right up there. I wouldn't say they wouldn't be outside the four. I would like to say they're going to be competing for a top 4 spot.
Well, that big win over Sydney definitely helps them in that regard. Jack McVeigh is playing in his own time. I absolutely love his personality and what he brings to the league as well. Andrew Andrews is an interesting one. Steps off the plane, straight into a doubleheader, and then meets Bryce Cotton on Thursday night. Can you talk about the challenges that Andrew Andrews maybe faces and how he can tackle that coming into NBL 26?
Well, I like him. He looks cool, calm, and collective. My father's name is Andrew, so I'm all on board with him too. He got the bald head, just like all of us. So I think he's going to be a nice personality for the league. He seemed like a true leader. The ball's in his hands. He's letting everyone else play with it because he's feeling that, I know where to find the right person at the right time, and then don't leave me open because I'll pull up in your mug and shoot a 3. So I'm impressed with how he came off the plane and handled his business. He seemed to be just what the doctor ordered for them, someone that can actually, maximize the pieces that they have. And I think once they find their feet and he gets his legs underneath him, because I saw he cramped up. And I know what that feeling's like when you get off the plane and you have to play and then all of a sudden your legs lock up on you. But he came through it. And I believe he's going to be that ingredient that's going to create some real success up in Cairns.
They really missed him in that round 1 clash against Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. So I think he's going to add another piece, like you said. Cotton.
Going against Bryce?
There's no other word for it. He is just... Sorry?
No, you go.
Bryce Cotton, I am astounded. Every single year that I see Bryce Cotton play, he just gets better. I saw him live on Sunday in Adelaide. That home crowd is going to absolutely love him. 39 in his debut. How does Bryce Cotton keep getting better year on year? Is his mindset? Is it his attitude? I feel like he's humble, but also knows that he's great. How does he embrace the pressure that comes with stepping into Adelaide 36ers and you coming off an MVP season, arguably his best yet? How does Bryce level up again?
I'll say it in this little acronym. He's mad. And you said the 2 words. He's got the mentality, he's got the attitude, and he's got the determination to be the best. It's as simple as that. When you look into his eyes, I see a guy that's like, you know what? I'm the one. So y'all got to just get ready for the show. He's no messing around the way he goes about his business. He concentrates on getting to his spots. And he's so explosive. Like, he's probably one of the best athletes. Like, everyone talks about him being, just a dynamic player. But when I look at him scoop by players and then stop on a dime and pull up and gets up high and just knocks down the jumper, he don't even hit the rim most times. Like, he's just dropping in the court. So you can tell that his swag is in his bag. He's got the skill set. He's got the work ethic. He's got that attitude that's his altitude. Like, he's on top of his game, and he can shoot goals with anybody. I would put Bryce in any shooting competition with anyone in this country. And, it's a Wildcat loss, because he's been there so long, but he looks refreshed being in Adelaide. Like this is where I need to be right now, and he's got people around him, and he's the new kid on the block, so to speak. So very excited for him and his family. I got a lot of time for Bryce. Every time he sees me, he gives me love. He's heard the stories and stuff, and he's always been very, how can I say, acknowledging my family and what we've done in the game. So, no, I got a lot of time for Bryce, and I can't wish him anything but the best, even though I'm not all that excited about the 36ers coming up with all these players and all this money when my son couldn't even have assistant coach hardly. But no, good luck with that, Lace.
I feel like the roster they've put together, some people are really high on it. Others a little bit concerned that he dropped 39 and they only won by a small margin against a Brisbane Bullets team who have a lot of injuries. They bring in Rakicevic, who's coming in to stretch the floor. He's going to play again in that 4-5 role. What do you think the hole is that they need to fill the 36ers now? No Trez, he's gone. They bring in this Rakicevic. They said they're going to wait until later to fill that roster spot. Is there anything that you saw on the weekend that you think that they need?
They're really deep. Matter of fact, the only thing they really need is to work out how some guys won't play and how to keep them happy, and everyone having a buy-in. Because when I look at their guard play, they got 5 new guards there. You got DJ, been the only one there. Then you bringing in Keanu. Well, they got Keanu Rasmussen, but then you bringing in Michael Harris, Isaac White, Cameron. I'm sorry, Flynn Cameron. I'm sorry, Flynn Cameron, and then they got new front court. Isaac Humphries is a consistent one. And now bringing in a new big fella, I think he'll add some dimension to their team by stretching the floor, as you mentioned. But for mine, I think they're so deep, and Bryce is going to play a lot of minutes, and DJ would want to play a lot of minutes. So therefore, there's not many more minutes to go around for those others. And it's how Mike Wells decides to handle that. Good problem to have, though. Like everyone wants some depth. And if you can handle that, and make sure everyone's on the same page in terms of the ultimate goal of winning a championship. And I'm sure with someone like Bryce sitting there, eyeballing everybody and you watching him go to work, you want to follow his lead because it does lead to some chips when you just look at the history. So it's all good in Adelaide.
Absolutely. You spoke about DJ, though. DJ's not going to get the looks that he's used to getting with Bryce being there. What do you think that does to a player like DJ? Do you think it ruffles some feathers, or do you think that's something that he'll be able to overcome? Because I think on the weekend he didn't get the shots up that he's used to getting.
I agree. Yeah, he's not, and also defensively, he's got to step it up, because people are going to go right at him. And if he's not getting the ball to go right back at them, then he might be feeling a little bit, offside, off put. But you can't help but admire what Bryce brings to the table. But in a sense, it should open up more opportunities for DJ because, Bryce is going to draw a double team soon. They're going to try to get the ball out of his hands, and that's where DJ can kind of pick up on. But at the same time, again, they got a lot of guards. So everybody is not going to just be on the court. DJ is probably going to have to get used to coming in and out of the game, so to speak, not just being consistently out there. Because I can't see how you can really take minutes off Bryce. And then I was really impressed with Flynn Cameron. He looked really good, but he's playing sort of like a 2-3 spot, it looks like. But Michael Harris comes in and Isaac White comes in. They're both very aggressive scorers. Someone's going to be sitting upon just being on the edge of their seat, waiting to get in the game. And all I can say is that if that's DJ, he just got to keep the smile, keep his talk. Like he always got good rap about everything and all that. He's got to stay positive. And if he does that, then he's one of the captains. He has no other choice, really. Then I think they're in for a good season.
Lastly, on the NBL, before I really, really want to ask you about the NBA coming over here. It's a monumental week. But quickly, who's the team that you're most concerned about after the first 2 rounds?
Ooh, that's a good one. I I like Tazzy. I like what they brought to the table. I'm a little bit kind of mixed up about Southeast Phoenix because they came out and blasted whoever it was in that first game, and then they got turned around and got blasted the second game. When I seen that, I thought, "Gee, that was a whitewash." Like, man, they didn't show up, so that kind of sent the concerns up. I think also I was concerned about Cairns until Andrew Andrews showed up, but now I might have to shift that concern to Brisbane because they seem to be a little smallish. All they got is Tyrell in there, and if he goes, knock on wood, if he goes down, then they really small, and they showed up in the last game that they really battled all game long. But when you talk about a long season with training sessions and travel and all that, they might not, be able to sustain that if they don't have another big. I think that's important to match up because Tyrell has never been a 40-minute man, and you need him because he's tough down there. And I'm sure if they can play at a different pace to make sure they maximize his abilities, then I think they're gonna be okay. But it is a concern that, knock on wood, if something happened to him, then they look like a whole different ball game. Ball team, I should say.
The New Orleans Pelicans, they're on the plane, they're entering Australia this week. They come up against Melbourne United and the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix you're a little bit concerned about. Can you believe that we're welcoming an NBA team onto Australian soil? They're going to be playing games at Rod Laver Arena. There's still tickets available for those who want to jump on the website. But how monumental is that, Cal? And did you ever think that we would see this happening in Melbourne on Australian soil?
I wish I could be a fortune teller like that, but I didn't see this happening. But at the same time, I dreamt that it could happen because back in the '80s when they were bringing out teams, usually NBA ex All Stars. George Gervin brought out the Dados. Magic Johnson came with the All Stars. I remember taking Perth Wildcats overseas to watch the Lakers train and be around that environment, and of course taking the Cannons to play against a college team, which we all do. But Magic Johnson was playing in that team. Now to see all that come to full circle and then have NBA coming here, although, like I said, players been coming and this and that, but having a full-on team game, I think is going to be an important milestone, a monumental milestone in Australian basketball history, simply because it's never happened and NBA is coming with some grit because I don't think they could afford to lose to an NBL team again, right? Because all of a sudden, when you start looking at those roster dollars, shoot, Australia put their hand up. We might need a raise. These guys are making, $25 million, and we making 25,000. Like, hold up, we need a raise because we beating the top players in the world at their own game. So I got a feeling that this game is going to be pretty spicy, and it's going to be pretty special. And it's history being made, so it doesn't get much better than that.
I can't wait to watch, and I really do hope United or Southeast Melbourne get up in one of the games on the weekend. If they do, what do those NBL teams need to do? How do they compete with the Pels this weekend?
Well, I think the best way is to play smart. You got to play really smart against the NBA because they're going to have more talented players from starting five down to the end of the roster. And they on show representing the U.S. It's not representing the NBA, So this is a very, very important outing. Particularly, I keep bringing it up, particularly having Adelaide knock off the Phoenix Suns, who was a Western Conference finalist. So it just goes to show the NBA is on alert. And I know the NBL would like nothing more. Melbourne's a team that can compete. There's no doubt about it. I think that the Pelicans, though, they got a pretty special team too. And after finishing last year, I think this year they're gonna come out with a bit of spice and a bit of bang, and they physical. And depending on the referees on how they gonna call this game, that will determine the outcome, I think. But I'm excited for Melbourne, seeing that they getting their chance to actually match up with one of the best teams in the world.
Cal, it has been a privilege to sit here and listen to your insights. I've absolutely loved it. Thank you so much for joining me on NBL Now. For those of you at home, tune in again this week. Plenty more stories coming to you on the NBL podcast, brought to you by Code Sports, that has your NBL covered like no one else. Expert analysis and insider access on and off the court. You can head to codesports.com.au today. Thank you so much, Cal, and enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you in Perth.
I look forward to it. Okay, take care.